Gotta give it up for Coach. Big shout out to the coaches. You see, my coach, he believed in me since jump.
And welcome to another episode of Tuff Talk with Coach P. I, of course, am your man, Coach P, and I'm so thrilled to be here today. Okay, our first two episodes might have been a little tough to deal with, I'm not going to lie. It was tough for me to actually bring that to the forefront, but I believe that it was what the sport needed. We needed to talk to our coaches. We needed to hold those guys accountable. We did that in the first episode, Culture Over Clout. I suggest that if you are a coach, you should go take a listen to that. Also, to the second episode was part 2, Culture Over Clout, and this was geared more at the leadership. So about the board. How are we building these boards? How are we setting up our youth organizations so that we can maximize the financial resources that come through our organization on an annual basis? So I suggest you definitely go back, take a listen to those shows because it's definitely going to help you. My goal with Tuff Talk with Coach P is really to be a resource for all of those that are trying to make youth sports a great space for everyone involved. Me particularly, I love this game. I will say this in every episode. Youth football coaching is my ministry. It's a way for me to talk to these young men, instill something in them without being too preachy in a way that they can receive it. So with that being said, we're going to move on. Today, we're going to be talking about an issue that plagues youth sports, not just youth football, but plagues youth sports. We're going to be talking about daddy ball. Today's episode is Daddy Ball Detox and helping for coaches to develop a fair play system. And we're going to go over what that means. This is not a witch hunt of any kind. The goal of today's show is to replace personalities with policies so that every kid gets developed. That's very important. The one thing that I can't stand is when I see a practice and there are kids standing around and you got 8 or 9 coaches on your coaching staff. That should never happen. Every kid needs to be developed. There's going to come a time in a game when your star player is injured or he needs a break, or your minimum play kids really have to step up and make a play. Oftentimes in that scenario, because of poor management by coaches and also a lack of development in practice, you put yourself in a bad situation in the fourth quarter. So we want to definitely prevent that here today. We also want to ensure that parents trust the process. The worst thing that can happen is unruly parents that believe that their athlete should be getting more playing time, and you as a coach don't have an explanation or a reason why they're not getting the playing time that a given parent feels that they deserve. If you have some sort of method in place to keep the parents engaged and also to keep the parents informed proactively, that will go a long way. Do yourself a favor and make sure you listen to this episode today because it's going to help you avoid some of those pitfalls. I really want coaches to have the ability to coach. I want you guys to be free in your environment, to be able to coach, to be able to make these decisions without having to worry about A, your coaching staff not buying into your vision, B, the parents not buying into your visions, and C, every player is not getting developed. That's very important and crucial to building your team and building championship culture. Another unfortunate consequence of the daddy ball phenomenon is coaches get accused by parents of favoritism. Coaches then feel attacked. And you know who gets caught in the crossfire? The kids. So today we're installing a fair play system, one that any league, coach, or parent can use. The parents will also feel involved and every kid will get developed. That's what we want to ensure with this episode here today. So without further ado, we're going to get right involved. We're going to get right into it. All right. So first, let's define what is daddy ball. Anybody out there know what daddy ball is? Raise your hand. Daddy ball has a lot of variations and it can come in a lot of shape and forms. Daddy ball is not limited to a coach that has his own biological child that is playing. It could be the young lady that you got a crush on and you want to make sure that she finds favor in you, so you play her son a little bit more. I got 2 words for you: yoga pants. Don't act like it doesn't happen. We talked about this in episode 1. Stay out of those inappropriate relationships. That's definitely going to help you maintain championship culture, but I'm going to leave that there. So it comes in many forms. So we need to recognize that. The main thing about daddy ball is basically showing favoritism to a given player for a specific reason. Usually it's nepotism. So we want to get that out the way. I've had personal experience, and this is some anecdotal experiences that I've had with daddy ball, where you've got players that come over to your organization, but because the coaches, the head coach particularly, and other coaches have their biological children that play a specific position, and they're not really given an opportunity to other kids to even compete for a starting spot. What that does is definitely add dissension to your team. I was going to say your locker room, but in youth sports, you know exactly what I mean. That adds dissension. The parents get to talking, and that's something that you definitely don't want to happen. Plus, it's not in your best interest not to develop your entire team. The only thing daddy ball gets you in this game is what the 2017 Cleveland Cavaliers got when LeBron James said that they were top heavy as bleep. You don't want to be that way. You don't want to be a top heavy team that will always let you down. And a unwanted consequence of daddy ball is having a top heavy team that will let you down in the fourth quarter for a myriad of reasons, and we don't have to go there. So we definitely want to avoid that. So what is daddy ball? Daddy ball is simply showing favoritism to a given player for a given reason. Usually it is nepotism. That's the most common reason for daddy ball. But again, it could be anything. It could be your coach likes a certain girl or a certain parent on the team, and we know this happens. Don't front like it doesn't happen. Your man, Coach P, is going to always keep it real. That's what we do here at Tuff Talk with Coach P. Real conversations, real accountability. All right. We talked about that in episode 1. Knock it off. All right. We're trying to get the Quan. We're trying to establish championship culture at every level. So we got to make sure we get the daddy ball out of the game. We're going to detox daddy ball here today. Statistically, most kids stop playing our game around age 11 for various reasons. Maybe because it's not fun, maybe because they're not being developed, maybe because they're just not getting the experience that they thought that they would get. Most of the time in those situations, when they talk to their parent or their parent asks them, what are you feeling? How did you like it? What was your experience? They just simply say, I don't want to play anymore. They don't articulate the fact that they weren't developed, they weren't being coached up, so consequently they didn't have a good time in the sport, so they quit. So having clear systems to avoid this is what keeps those kids involved and also helps to grow our sport. So those are the things that we want to get out of this episode today, and your man Coach P has your back. We are going to explore the Quan in youth sports. It's your man Coach P. I'll be right back.
The Standard is a youth mentorship program empowering young men ages 8 to 14 through athletics, personal growth, and structured guidance. Built on the values of discipline, teamwork, and integrity, The Standard connects sports with life lessons to help participants develop confidence, leadership, and strong character on and off the field.
You are listening to Tuff Talk with Coach P. Real conversations with real accountability. Catch us every Monday on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Tuff Talk. All right, and welcome back to Tuff Talk with Coach P. Again, I'm your man, Coach P. We are going to get this thing all the way popping. The first thing, or the first part of our fair play system, is going to be the parent preseason huddle. This may be the most important part of it. And the main reason that this could be the most important part of this system, because this is going to make sure that you're proactive with keeping the parents involved. So what is going to be part of this parent huddle or this parent meeting when you first start? You're going to set clear expectations. What this does is this allows you to let the parents know what the structure of your team is going to be, what your non-negotiables are going to be for the kids and for the parents. It's also going to be a clear-cut guide that they can follow on how you determine playing time, how you determine reps, also how you determine how you evaluate players and put them in a certain situation. And we're going to get into the evaluation process in the second part of this. But answering those questions and being able to have this powwow or this huddle with the parents is going to go a long way. It's going to ensure that your parents believe in your ability to be transparent. Transparency is going to be key, especially in building championship culture. You want to avoid problems before they could potentially start. The best way to do that is to set real expectations and make sure that the parents are definitely bought in and on board. Now, this is something your man Coach P always says: fairness is a skill you coach, just like stance and start. That's something that you're going to be coaching the parents. That's something you're going to be coaching the players. It's also something that you're going to be coaching your coaching staff. You want to make sure that you provide a culture of fairness. You want to make sure, and by fairness, I mean competition. You want to make sure that the players understand that everything that they get, they've earned. You want to promote a culture of you eat what you kill. If you can build that culture of accountability, of fairness, and you have to decide what fairness looks like to your team. And once you set that standard and that expectation, you also have to live by it as a coach as well. Fairness is a skill that you coach, just like stance and start. Another part of this preseason huddle that you have with the parents, you want to set expectations for how you expect them to act on the sideline also. It goes back to what we were talking about in episode 1. Everyone has to be aligned on this. So that's going to be part of that parent meeting, that parent huddle, how we expect to act on the sideline. Also, parents, give coaches 24 hours to cool off before you contact them with your issues. A lot of coaches really care about this game. Wins and losses affect them. I know as a coach, wins and losses affect me. I'm much easier to deal with after a win than I am after a loss. Give me 24 hours before you come to them with your issues. Also, too, by having a parent huddle, you will avoid a lot of these issues because then you can hold the player accountable. You can also hold the parent accountable. Doing these things, setting these guidelines up helps you out. It alleviates issues that could come up in the future. It quells those issues before they start. And finally, make sure you have a player evaluation grid. Now, your player evaluation grid might be different than mine, but you have to have some sort of way that shows the parents, that also shows your coaching staff that you have done a proper evaluation so that you don't have kids playing out of position. From a parent standpoint, it is very, very, very important that you have some sort of verifiable evaluation process so that you can justify what position you are putting the kids in. If we really want to maximize the potential of these young athletes, we must make sure that they are playing in position. So those are the things that we're going to talk about in our parent huddle. So let's review. We're going to talk about the team mission. That's number 1 in our parent huddle. Number 2, roles and communication map. Who do I need to talk to? What's the chain of command? Do you necessarily need to come to me first, or should you go to the team mom and then the team mom escalate it? But you as the head coach need to establish that early. A sideline pact. We cannot have parents on the sideline and in the stands acting like buffoons. We cannot do it. It does not help championship culture. It does not give you as a parent the desired result. It does not make the coach want to put your child in. So make sure that you have a sideline pact and you are enforcing that. Number 4, player evaluation grid overview. Make sure you have some sort of player evaluation that you can quantify. With what I do is on the first day of two-a-days, I'm sorry, not two-a-days, can't have two-a-days no more, I'm old school. But on the first day of Hell Week, what I do is I get the measurables. We're running 40s, we're doing 3-cone drills, we're doing medicine ball tosses, we're doing push-ups. I want to evaluate the athleticism of these kids to make sure that we are putting them in their proper place. And finally, number 5, a 24-hour rule and a conflict resolution method. It is important that you as a parent and that you as a coach let the parents know that you are human. Give me 24 hours before you come to me with an issue. I care about your kid, not just as much as you do. That's not possible. but I care about your kid. That's why I'm doing this. The wins and the losses affect me just like they affect him and just like they affect you. Give me 24 hours. All right. So that's the first part of this. Parent huddle. Make sure you have a parent huddle. Make sure you have clear communication, and it'll help you avoid a lot of these things. It's your man, Coach P. You are listening to Tuff Talk with Coach P. We'll be right back.
The Standard is a youth mentorship program empowering young men ages 8 to 14 through athletics, personal growth, and structured guidance. Built on the values of discipline, teamwork, and integrity, The Standard connects sports with life lessons to help participants develop confidence, leadership, and strong character on and off the field.
You are listening to Tuff Talk with Coach P. Real conversations with real accountability. Catch us every Monday on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Tuff Talk. And welcome back to Tuff Talk with Coach P. Real conversations, real accountability. The second part of what I like to call the fair play system is a player evaluation grid or some sort of method to evaluate your players to make sure that they are playing in their proper position. Based on your offense, based on your defense, based on what your practices are, you are going to have to set up what those criteria are for setting up players or for putting players in a specific position. So we have to have some sort of method that deals with that. Again, like I said before, some of the methods that I use are regular combine stuff, first day of practice. We're getting everybody's measurables. We're getting everybody's scores. We're having multiple coaches reevaluate the kids based on the scores. For me, I'm filming these evaluations so that it's easy for me to evaluate where they are in terms of football knowledge and football skill, in terms of the little things. Can they get into a three-point stance already? How are they coming off the ball? Do they know certain routes, or do they know how to run? What's their proper form? Those are things you have to deal with, those things on your own. You have to come up with those criteria on your own. Those are some of the things that I look at when I'm evaluating players to play certain things. Another thing in this evaluation process, this is just a side note, coaches, I implore you to learn each position. And maybe you want to start by group, break it down, start with what you feel comfortable with. If you're an offensive coach, maybe you want to start with the offensive line so you can really understand protection. So you know what you're looking for in your offense as it relates to protection. And then you extrapolate that way of thinking out to every other position. It'll make the job easier for you to evaluate, particularly in the offense or defense that you want to run, where to put a given player. Another reason why it's imperative to have a quantifiable evaluation method in your repertoire is because you definitely want to make sure that the kids are playing in position. But how are you going to know what capabilities you're going to have on offense and defense scheme-wise if you don't properly identify your personnel? A lot of the times I hear coaches say, oh, I want to run a spread. I want to run an empty backfield. I want to run 5 wide. But you don't know if you have the personnel to effectively run that. I hear a lot of coaches go to college coaching clinics and say, I want to run a 3-man front, but don't know if you have a space-eating defensive tackle on your team. It's very important that you identify skill sets, that you identify personnel, that you properly vet players so that you are getting the best out of them. I'm telling you, it's going to help you in the long way if you develop a method that helps you to properly identify what players belong where. Outside of being able to hold the players and the parents accountable, implementing the proper evaluation system is going to save you a lot of issues in the future because it's going to let you know what your capabilities are. But more importantly, it's going to let you know what your limitations are when you're developing your offense or your defense. So again, having the proper method of evaluating players is crucial when building championship culture. It's also crucial in being proactive in stopping any issues that you may have with your parents and eliminating the daddy ball stigma that may or may not come with your program. Too many times what I see is these daddy ball coaches believing that because a kid is thin or because a kid has a muscular build, he can play running back. Because a kid has a little belly, because a kid is a little bit slower, he can only play line. You'll find that if you understand the nuances of the position, you'll find a place for every kid that's on your team where they will be able to play in the position that will allow them to shine. That's the point. You want to be able to get the most out of every player. The more you know, the more knowledgeable that you are about the game, the easier it'll make your job as it relates to evaluating talent, evaluating players, and making sure that they're playing in their proper position. By having a systematic, quantifiable way to evaluate athletes, by sharing that to the parents and being transparent, you will be able to hold not only the player accountable, but you'll be able to hold the parents accountable as well. Make sure that you, number one, parent huddle. Number two, have a quantifiable way of evaluating talent.
The Standard is a youth mentorship program empowering young men ages 8 to 14 through athletics, personal growth, and structured guidance. Built on the values of discipline, teamwork, and integrity, the Standard connects sports with life lessons to help participants develop confidence, leadership, and strong character on and off the field.
You are listening to Tuff Talk with Coach P. Real conversations with real accountability. Catch us every Monday on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Okay, so this Tuff Talk might be a little bit sticky for some coaches. For me, this is something that I try to live by because the goal is, particularly when you are trying to build championship culture, and that's what this show is all about, building championship culture over clout. It is imperative that every player on the field is getting developed. Playing time is not guaranteed, it is earned. But development should be guaranteed to each player that is on your team. So how are we going to ensure that we understand winning and losing in its totality? Sometimes you may have to lose a given game to win the season. So I say that to say this. For me, I like to put on playing time bans. Okay, so I'm gonna explain a little bit what that means. Okay, I see you coaches, I hear you coaches. Stop throwing tomatoes at your boy right now. Put it down. I get it. All right, put the rotten cabbage down. I get it. Playing time bans. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to do that. No one wants to keep their dogs off the field. But I'm telling you, you as a coach, you as a program are doing yourself a disservice when you drive a player into the ground and you are not developing your whole team. The time that you really want to be firing on all cylinders is in the playoffs. If you have to lose early as you're developing your team. That development, those reps, particularly those game reps, are going to come home to roost in the playoffs and later in the season. That rep or two that you take away from your star player that he does not need and give to your developmental player is going to mean a world of difference on 4th and 3 when you are in the playoffs and your main guy has a cramp because he's been balling all day. I'm going to work very hard to give each positional player the same amount of series for the first 4 weeks. Now, I know you're saying that's impossible. How can you do that? How are you able to do that? Well, if you are evaluating talent properly, if you are putting the things in place properly, if you are structuring your practices where you're getting the most out of the daylight, where you are using your coaching resources, meaning if you got 6 guys out there, all 6 of those guys are dialed in because you as a head coach have the proper practice plan in place so that you are not wasting a second, you will be able to accomplish this. Now, are you going to get the same production in that first 4 weeks? Maybe not. If you're a good coach and you understand strategy and you understand the game, you should still be able to pull those wins out, especially if you have a good team where you have built championship culture, where you have the proper discipline in place, where you are not wasting daylight at practice, where the kids are coming to practice and showing up because you hold them accountable. etc., etc., you will be able to do this. It's not going to be easy, but anything worth having never is. That's the problem. A lot of these coaches take the microwave approach, the daddy ball approach. You're going to get a bunch of your friends that got great players as kids, and you're going to bring them together, and you think that is going to build you a championship team. No, it doesn't work that way. If you really understand this game, it takes chemistry, it takes knowledge, it takes discipline, it takes systems. Listen up. You are only as good as your systems in this game. Your systems should bear fruit. If you are a team of all-stars, if you are a team of daddy ballers, and you are getting to the playoffs and losing in the playoffs every year, or you are getting to the championship game and losing in the championship every year, it is because your systems are flawed. It is because you are not evaluating talent correctly. More than likely, you have players playing out of position. More than likely, when the going gets tough, because your team is not disciplined and you play daddy ball, when you need those players to come through for you the most, they will let you down because your systems are flawed. You are only as good as your systems. That's not just in football, that's in life. So that's a bar from your man, Coach P. You don't learn nothing else from your man, Coach P. Learn that you are only as good as your systems. So if those things are happening to you, evaluate what systems you have in place. And when I say systems, your practice plan, how you approach coaching the kids, how you approach evaluating the kids, how you approach talking to the parents, how you approach dealing with your board, etc., etc. Go back and ask yourself, what type of systems do we have in place? Specifically for what we're talking about, what type of systems do you have in place to ensure that you are evaluating the players properly, that they're playing in the proper position so that you can develop them properly? That's real talk. That's why it's important that you develop every player. That if they've earned it, you got to get them their reps. And again, I guarantee it, in the playoffs, in a tough moment, you will need that player to come off the bench and bail your ass out. But if you didn't walk the walk, if you didn't put in the time in the beginning, you won't have that. So we got to ask ourselves, what are we doing? For me, I like to put in playing time bans at least through the first 4 weeks so that everybody's playing, everybody's getting developed. And it's not necessarily about wins and losses early. I love to win. I hate to lose. I can't sleep when I lose. But then also too, I'm watching film. I'm breaking down film. I'm adjusting. I'm sending messages to my coaches. I'm sending messages to my parents. These are the things that you have to do if you want to be able to build a championship team. All right. So that's number 3, right? Playing time bans. I know. You hate it. But implement it and see what it does to your team. It's your man, Coach P. We'll be right back.
The Standard is a youth mentorship program empowering young men ages 8 to 14 through athletics, personal growth, and structured guidance. Built on the values of discipline, teamwork, and integrity, The Standard connects sports with life lessons to help participants develop confidence, leadership, and strong character on and off
You
the
are
field.
listening to Tuff Talk with Coach P. Real conversations with real accountability. Catch us every Monday on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Tuff Talk. All right, so part 4. We want to detox our game of daddy ball. This is a daddy ball detoxification that we are experiencing right now. A daddy ball detoxification is what we're doing right now. We want to get it out of our game. We have identified what daddy ball is, all right? And we have also started the process of what I call a fair play system that has a few moving parts. The first moving part is in the beginning of your season, have a parent huddle. The second part is make sure that you have some sort of way to evaluate the players that play on your team. And you want to do this early. This is a way to hold parents accountable, to hold the kids accountable, to hold yourself accountable, and also to have a way that ensures that kids are not playing out of position and you are in the position to get the best out of a given player because you have done your due diligence as a coach by understanding each position and what you need to get out of that position. And you can put certain criteria in place to evaluate a player to make sure that they meet a given criteria for the position that they need to play, right? Simple. So we want to make sure. The third thing is once your season starts, if you're talking about really developing championship culture, building a program and not just a team, put in playing time mandates or playing time limitations to ensure that every player at every position is getting game reps so that they are developing. It does not mean that you will continue through that way once you understand what a given player is and you get into the meat and bones of your season. But it does ensure that early on, when you are playing your non-conference games, when you are playing your cream puff schedule, so to speak, that those players are getting real invaluable game reps. So we're going to keep this thing rolling, and this is going to be a sticky situation, is actually dealing with the parents. And when an issue over playing time or you being a daddy ball coach arise, or the perception of daddy ball arise, that there is a clear method to handle it so that the parent feels heard and you don't lose the player. Because again, when you as a coach feel accused, the parent is irate, the kid or the athlete is the one that unfortunately gets caught in the crossfire. So we want to avoid that like the plague. We mentioned it before. Parents, give the coach 24 hours. If he's a good coach, if he's following the snap culture method, yes, that was a shameless plug of my book. I did write a book, Snap Culture Method, the proving guide to building championship culture in youth football. Go get the book. It'll be available on the 22nd of this month. Go get the book. All right, but I digress. Yes, if he's really trying to do that, he will get back to you when you reach out to him. He will communicate to you when you reach out to him. Make sure that when you reach out to him, you have things documented. Please don't come at him with your feelings. Come at him with facts. As a coach, me personally, I appreciate facts over your feelings because guess what? I want to win too. And I want what's best for your athlete as well. We are on the same team. As a coach and a parent, we're on the same team. And it's imperative that as a coach, you relay that message. Everything that you do needs to relay that message. You need to understand you're dealing with somebody's baby. And a lot of the times, logic goes out the window when you're dealing with someone's child. So I think we need to be mindful of that. And most of you daddy ball coaches understand that. That's why you have your kid playing quarterback, even though he should be holding a water bucket. But I digress. So you got to think about that when you are talking to the parent. So make sure you talk like you have some sense and make sure you talk to them with empathy if they followed the rule. So if they've come at you with facts, not their feelings, they gave you your 24 hours to detox. Now it's on you. Okay, now as a parent, if you've done what you're supposed to do, you followed the rules, your player is coming to practice on time, they're there when they're supposed to be, they have the proper attitude, they are following what your follow-up is when you come to them and say, hey, coach, what do I need to do to get more playing time? Your coach should have an answer for you. This is what your athlete needs to do to get more playing time. As a coach, you don't have the right to brush them off. And like I said before, just because you are a volunteer, it does not give you the right to be mediocre. It does not give you the right to say, because I'm volunteering my time, I get to be an asshole. It does not give you that right. So when you're talking to these parents, talk to them as if the same way you would want a coach to talk to you about your player. If that doesn't happen, parents, then take it to the board. Go to the board. I've done everything that my coach told me to do. I'm at practice. I paid my registration. My son or daughter is busting his behind. I asked the coach 24 hours after the game, what do I need to do to get more than 8 plays? And he gave me some line of BS. Go to the board. Simple. But you as a coach, to avoid this, you need to have some what? What do you need to have? A system in place to deal with this. So now we're talking about parent recourse, what parents can do, the chain of command, making sure you have a clear-cut chain of command. And when you have your parent meeting in the beginning, bring this up. This is what you should do to hold me accountable. I'm telling you, what I've learned, if you put yourself out there as one who holds yourself accountable, that will go a long way with the parents. It'll go a long way with the board and with your players. I try to keep myself in good shape because I'm going to be out there running with the kids. I'm going to tell you why. They see you out there running. They see you out there doing push-ups. What is it going to drive them to do? By doing those things, it lets them know that we're in this together. By allowing the parents to hold you accountable, it lets them know that we're in this together. So when you have to make those hard choices, when you have to look Susie in her face and say, hey, the reason why your son is not playing is because A, B, and C. And this is what you signed. There's nothing that person can say. See, a lot of the times we feel like discipline and accountability is an anchor that weighs us down. No, discipline and accountability is the bolt cutters that breaks the chains that set us free in this life. Not just in football. I'm going to say that one more time. Discipline and accountability is the bolt cutters that cuts the chains that weigh us down in this life. They set us free. Discipline and accountability set us free to be able to teach and coach these young players into greatness. Discipline is our friend. So again, we must have a way for the parents to hold us accountable. And when the parents hold us accountable, we must fall on our sword. We must take accountability and we must be better. Just because we decide to volunteer does not give us a license to be mediocre. It's your man, Coach P. We'll be right back. So I think this is also a great time to introduce the Standard Youth Football coming in 2026. There's a line that Jay-Z said, and I use this as one of my patented messages of the day, where he said, you got people out here saying they made Hove. Okay, make another Hove. That's what I'm about to do. I'm going to make another Hove. I'm going to put my money, my time, my effort, my ability, my blood, my sweat, my tears into walking the walk and not just talking the talk. The Standard Youth Football is here. Tuff Talk. And welcome back to Tuff Talk with Coach P. I, of course, am your man, Coach P. And we looking for the Quan, baby. We trying to get the Quan in youth sports. So what we need to do to get that Quan, we got to get the daddy ballers up out of there, man. We got to get them up out of there. And again, being a daddy baller doesn't necessarily mean it's your son or daughter that you are showing favoritism to. Like we said earlier, it can be that girl that you're trying to get with that you are promising playing time to, but we're not going to go there, man. I said I wasn't going to go back there. We're not going to go there again. Anyway, stay away from these inappropriate relationships, coach. Once there has been an escalation, once a parent has come to you with their complaints, and again, this is assuming that you have done everything that you're supposed to do in terms of having a meeting with the parents, giving them clear expectations, you had an evaluation process, you have some sort of method that validates your evaluation in the season, then a parent comes to you and says, I've done what I'm supposed to do, right? What does my player need to do to get more playing time? It is incumbent upon you now, coach, to have some sort of action plan that you can put in place, especially If the player is doing what they're supposed to do, the parent is communicating with you, but in your eyes, they are not developing at the rate that you would like them to do, now it's time to put an action plan in place. But you gotta have an action plan based on fact, not based on what you think or what you believe. If you are not following your own plan and kids are standing around and playing around and throwing the football and cracking jokes in practice, there is no way that you have an answer for a parent that is coming to you and saying, my athlete is not getting the proper playing time. You will not have a proper answer for them, and the parent will be right because they will see that you don't have a plan for practice. So again, it's very important that you are following this so that you will have a leg to stand on once they complain. But you're doing all that, right? So now it's time for an action plan. So for me, what I like to do, if everybody is doing what they say they do, and I can guarantee you can hold me accountable, I'm going to be watching film, I'm going to be doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to have a leg to stand on as it relates to what my policies are and what my systems are that I know will work. Okay, so now it's time for an action plan. And for me, I believe that you want to definitely get the athlete involved because you want to be able to hold the athlete accountable as well. So the first part about the action plan is that the player needs to, again, reiterate their goals. Now, if you're like me, all of my players in the beginning of the season, they, in writing, submit to me what their 3 goals are. So we're going to bring that back. Then we're going to put certain things in place where his position coach, these are the things that he needs to be doing on his own to get better. Because obviously the time that we're spending in practice is not enough. In our opinion, he's just not getting it. So we're going to identify those things. And you as a coach need to be able to clearly identify those things so that you can say, hey, mom, he's not doing this. He's not doing that. He's not working hard in practice. He's not giving 100%. And these are the measurables. These are the things that we have attributed that to. So you in this action plan need to be able to articulate to the parent, this is how we've evaluated him, and this is why we are here. This is why he's not playing. Furthermore, these are the steps that he can take to get more playing time. And usually that should include making sure that they're following the rules, making sure that they're being accountable at practice on time. Me personally, I don't accept excuses. It's the player's responsibility to get there on time. We talked about this in the previous episode. I don't accept those excuses. We want to make sure that they're giving 100% in every drill. And this is what we need to understand. Sometimes kids just don't get it until they get it. When you tell a player, when you're tackling, I don't want you to run to him. I want you to run through him. Until they actually run through a guy, they don't really understand that. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get it. Sometimes you'll have a kid in your program that year 1, year 2, they are not where you want them to be. And then year 3, they come back and they're an absolute animal because the switch has turned on. It's incumbent upon us as coaches that we are patient with the process. It's incumbent upon us as coaches to have a process that we can be patient with. All of that is going to come back into play when you set up that action plan for the player to get better. So again, talk to the parents in the beginning of the season, have a parent huddle, player evaluation with quantifiable data, some sort of method to gauge that you will write in your evaluation, an escalation process so that if a parent has an issue or a player has an issue, there is a clear-cut way and a chain of command to get those issues addressed. And finally, an action plan for the player, for the parent, that they can participate in so that they know that their concerns are being heard, but moreover, they're being addressed. So if you follow this, it would help you alleviate daddy ball from your lexicon. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes as coaches and parents, and when we just happen to have the pleasure of having the dual role of coach and parent, it's hard for us not to fall into that daddy ball trap.
The Standard is a youth mentorship program empowering young men ages 8 to 14 through athletics, personal growth, and structured guidance. Built on the values of discipline, teamwork, and integrity, the Standard connects sports with life lessons to help participants develop confidence, leadership, and strong character on and off the field.
You are listening to Tuff Talk with Coach P. Real conversations with real accountability. Catch us every Monday on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Welcome back to Tuff Talk with Coach P. I, of course, am your man, Coach P. And again, it's been a great show. Today, we talked about getting daddy ball out of the atmosphere of youth football. We had to get it out, man. We defined what it is. We defined ways to what I call the fair play method. We need to do better in the leadership. I think that just like we talked about in the last episode, the way these boards are being formed for the reasons that they're being formed, it is dragging youth football down. There's no reason why youth football does not have a true national championship system that is being televised just like baseball. Because the people that are running youth football today are simply not qualified. They simply don't know what they don't know. They simply have too much egos. They simply want things to be one way. Well, you know what? It's the other way. And we need to recognize that. We need to recognize that we're doing ourselves a disservice. That we are leaving proverbial money on the table. That is not allowing us to provide the best football product to the fans, to our parents, to the kids, and to the communities that we serve. If you really want to have a real football product, then you need to understand the business of football. You need to understand the business of people. You need to understand the business of coaching. You need to understand the game. Again, I get on the coaches and I hold the coaches accountable because you are on the ground floor. You are the ones that can negatively or positively affect the trajectory of the game. You touch the game in a way that the board and administrators do not. So I'm going to continue to hold you to a higher standard. I'm going to continue to get on you and hold you accountable. And I implore you to do the same thing for me. It is your man, Coach P. We are searching for the Quan in youth football. We need the Quan in youth football. The only way we're going to do it is together. Thank you for spending your time with me. You again are listening to Tuff Talk with Coach P. I will see you next week. I'm out.
Gotta give it up for Coach. Big shout out to the coaches. Shout out to the coaches. You see, my coach, he believed in me since jump. I'm a product of his coaching. Gotta give it up for Coach. Big shout out to the coaches. Yeah. You see, my coach, he believed in me since jump. I'm a product of his coaching. Gotta give it up for Coach.